Welcome everybody to the Storytime channel. My name is Steven, and today we have some I Don't Work Here Lady stories. Our first story of the day is by Citalina78. I do work here, but I don't do that. I'm doing home office, and often suppliers drop their invoices at my home for me to sort and eventually pay. If there's something not clear or any special issues, instead of dropping them in my mailbox, they'll knock at the door and we will talk about it. I live half a block away from a clinic. Half a block away on the other side of the clinic is a place where they'll help you out with paperwork for a fee, if you need any paperwork for the clinic. Today a supplier knocked and I was talking to him when this lady interrupts us, shoving a paper in my face and telling me, I need 2 copies of this one and one of the other, while swatting away the invoice my supplier was handing me. My supplier stared in shock, poor man. I was annoyed. I pushed her papers back, and although I did hear what she demanded, I pretended not to understand and said, I'm sorry, what do you want? The lady sighs, I told you I need 2 copies of... I say, yes, I heard that part. Why are you here? The lady rolling her eyes, I told you I need... I shake my head. 2 copies. Looks at the supplier, who still has a question mark for a face. I shake my head slowly. Lady goes silent. You need to walk all the way past the clinic, half a block more, and look for a sign that says copies, and then you need to ask them nicely. Lady leaves without another word. Supplier is barely holding his laughter in. Sigh. I want this to end, but I don't want to go back to dealing with people. If you were working at some place and somebody walked in that clueless, would you toy with them a little bit and make them waste their time, or would you be blunt and send them on their way? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Geomodus. I didn't know your grandpa, but I'll play with you. Nice short story. Several years ago, an older family friend passed away. My mother, being a priest, was invited to speak at his funeral. She was worried about me being home by myself because I'd had some recent health issues, so she had me tag along. It was a hefty drive and I figured we'd be there for a while, so I brought my 3DS and yokai watch. His whole family was there, including his grandchildren, 2 boys somewhere between 7 to 10. I stayed in an area of the reception where I couldn't see the actual funeral. It was open casket and I didn't really want to see a dead person I didn't know. The boys were immediately attracted to the sight of me on my 3DS. They came over and asked to watch me play. Of course, I said they could and continued my game, explaining what I was doing as I went on. They knew the game and seemed excited. An older kid played Nintendo. I gave them both a turn on my 3DS, pointing them where to go and what to do in battle. They were a little fussy and letting each other take turns, but they were having fun. Their father finally came over when the service began and pulled them away. Him and their mother thanked me profusely for entertaining their sons, and I said it was no problem and that they were very well behaved. They didn't actually know my name, just that I was there with my mother. I left early and it was overall a nice experience. I was glad I could help keep the young ones busy while they set up the memorial for their grandfather and let them learn a bit about Yokai Watch. There's something about bonding over video games that just makes me intrinsically happy. I don't know if it's because it brings me back to my childhood just playing games with my brother or whatnot, but there's something that's just so nice and so sweet about being able to enjoy games together. Our next story is by Upset Yet, mechanic in an auto parts store. I am a mechanic in a chain type shop. I work on my own cars and on other people's cars on the side. I go to the same auto parts store very often. I live about an hour away from the shop I work in, and about 20 minutes from the auto parts store I like to shop in. I go to work, have a long day of stress, then head towards home, but stop at the parts store to get brake pads and rotors for my personal car. I walk in wearing my mechanic shirt from work, which is a dark blue, while the store uniform is a bright green. I used to work in the auto parts store company, not this store, but the workers here know me and don't mind me using the computers to find my parts in the system. It makes it easier for them to get my stuff for me by not having to spend the 20 minutes going through the process of asking questions and looking up the parts. I walk in and straight to the computer that is unused at the moment. I pull up all the brake parts I needed and then walk down an aisle and get a can of brake grease and a few tools, walk back to the counter and wait for an employee to come over to help. They know I don't mind waiting and letting them handle the rest of the customers in line. As I'm standing there waiting, I pull up a second window of the system and start looking up wheel bearings for my car for the next big repair task. A lady comes in and sees me without a customer in front of me and walks right up to me and starts listing off things she wanted. I said, "Miss, I don't work here, I'm just a customer." She claims, "You are behind the counter, you must work here." I go back to the computer screen and continue to look for my parts. She gets mad at me and says, "I want to speak to your manager." I reply, "Well, I don't work here and my manager doesn't either." The store manager of the auto parts store walks up and this lady says, "So your manager doesn't work here but he's standing right here?" The store manager says, "Miss, if you'll step over here to the next computer, I will gladly help you." She says, "You can start by firing him." Store manager turns to me and says, "You are fired." I say, "Oh, okay, well, that sucks. Guess I'll need to find a new job." Lady smiling says, "Serves you right, brat." The store manager says, "Miss, can you read English?" Lady replies, "Of course I can." Store manager stands shoulder to shoulder with me and points to the company names on his shirt. I pick up on this and point to my company name on my shirt. I then say, "Are you colorblind by any chance?" She says, "No, what does that have to do with anything?" I point back and forth from store manager's shirt color to mine. Lady finally looks down at the shirts and sees that she missed the fact that my shirt is a total different color and it's from a completely different company. She starts babbling like a fish out of water. I turn to store manager and say, "You can handle this one. I'm going to go back to finding my parts." He leads her to the next counter and starts helping the embarrassed lady with the list of parts. After he found all the items, he tells her the price and she starts claiming she can get them at the competitor's store across the street for half that price. At this point, I have taken a picture of the screen for the wheel bearing parts I was looking for and closed that window, and I'm just waiting for an open employee to get the parts and cash me out. I hear her saying this and ask, "So why are you in here making such a fuss?" Loud enough for her to hear clearly. She barks at me, "Shut up and stay out of this." The store manager says, "If you can get a quote from them for less, I will match it." She says, "Why do I need a quote from them?" He replies, "Without a written quote for equal parts, I can't price match." She storms out to go across the street, leaving her car in the parking lot. I get my parts and cash out. I go outside and put my parts in my car. I go back to the store's door and start chatting with the store manager while he smokes and I vape. I notice a customer inside buying a battery, and the employee that was helping them is not allowed to work on cars because they are too young. Stupid company will hire a person that they can't train to work in hazardous environments legally, but whatever. The employee asked another employee to install the battery and was told it would be a minute because of the amount of customers in line. I step inside as the customer says, "That's fine, I'll wait." I say from the door, "Excuse me, I am a mechanic and I'll gladly install the battery for you for free so you don't have to wait." The customer happily agrees and carries the battery out the door. I pull my tools out of my car and start swapping the battery out. Within the 5 minutes it took me to do, the lady comes back across the street with a receipt in hand. The store manager sighs and goes inside waiting for her to come in. Lady walks up to me waving the paper in my face laughing. I tell her to step back and stay out of my face. She drops the laughter and smile when she sees the grip on the ratchet wrench I have that I'm pointing to her with. She goes inside and after I'd say maybe 3 minutes, she comes storming out of the store and gets in her car, slamming the door and peels off across the street. The store manager comes out and says to me as I'm putting my tools back in my tool bag, "She is a moron. The price she got was for the basic line of parts when she was asking us for the premium line." I tell the battery customer that he's good to go, and I laughed at what the store manager was saying. The battery customer hands me $20 and thanks me, saying, "What a witch," to which I laughed even more. I ended up doing my breaks right there in the parking lot and chatting with the store manager most of the time it took. And he said, "Hopefully she is a lost customer for life," as I was leaving. It was both a good and bad day, but at least it ended with entertainment. Honestly, it sounds really nice to be that in with the group of people at that store that you can just kind of show up, shoot the crap, And even when a terrible customer is around, you can still make a laugh out of it. This next story is by I Just Wanna Be Named. Elementary teacher took me to the principal office of a school I don't study at. I am in the 11th grade, and my school is in another town 15 minutes from mine. So today, a friend who lives in my town didn't come to school, and he asked me to bring him something he forgot in school that he needs for the weekend. I took his thing, and on my ride home, I left near his house to give it to him. On the way to his house, there's an elementary school that I used to study at until 8th grade. When I went past it, a teacher stopped me and asked why I'm not inside the school area. I look kinda young, so I get why he might ask that, and I also wore my school bag. I told him that I don't study here and that I haven't in the last 2.5 years. He told me he recognizes my face and that he knows that I do study here and that I lie just because I don't want to be in school. I once again told him that I don't study here and offered him to see my ID. He said yes, and I showed him. Then he said, "You are lying. I recognize this name from the school list." I said that it makes sense that you saw it at some point because I did study here in the past. In addition, in my country, you must be over 16 in order to get an ID, and this school is only until 8th grade, which means that they can't be 16. He told me that there are some students who are over 16 here and told me to come with him to the principal's office. I thought to myself, why not? The principal knows that I don't study here and that it'll be funny to see his reaction. And off I went with him to the principal's office. The teacher told the principal that he saw a student outside of the school area and brought me in. Now, I should note that when I was studying there, I left school early a lot without permission and mostly got away with no punishment because it was my last year at this school. The principal looked at me, then at the teacher, then back at me. He said, "OP, even after all these years of not studying here, you still find a way to sneak out with no permission, huh?" Then he said to the teacher that I didn't study here for the last 2.5 years and apologized for the misunderstanding. I told him it's fine. When I left the office, the teacher told me that I shouldn't walk outside of school in school time with a backpack if I don't study there. And I told him that what I did was completely fine and it's his problem for not knowing his students and left. P.S. Nor my current school or my old school has any sort of uniform, so I could understand the misunderstanding, and to me it was nothing but funny. If you found yourself in this situation and they were demanding you go with them to the principal's office, would you go along with them just for the fun of it, just to see how awful it ends up being when they find out they pulled some random person off the street into the principal's office? Let me know in the comments down below because personally, I feel like I might just want to just for the lulz of it. And our final story of the day is by ALX Walk. I don't serve coffee and you're paying for the laptop. This happened back in 2013. The Nursing Council in my country organizes an annual 3-day convention in order to keep us updated to new developments about our profession. It's not mandatory, but it gathers a lot of people for 2 reasons. 1, you can present a paper or research you worked on and be considered published, and 2, because they do it in a different city every year, it's a good way for a vacation. It usually takes place around the middle of May. Important information, tourist season in my country begins in April. For about 2 years, the nurses in the company I worked for had combined forces to write a paper about training and educating patients. I was the unlucky sod that had to do the presentation. We apply and they give us a spot early on the first day. The convention is held in a very touristy city in a 5-star hotel. I'm staying in another cheaper, like €100 per night cheaper, hotel. I go in wearing my dark blue business suit and tie and carrying my laptop. I do the presentation, everything goes well, and afterwards, I find a classmate of mine from nursing school and decided to grab a coffee. Because she wants to catch a presentation later on, we decided not to leave the hotel but go to the patio where they had a cafe. We're on the patio, catching up and enjoying our coffee in the sun and generally having a good time. The patio was almost full at that point, mostly with student nurses and people from the convention. The cafe staff is busy with all the people there. At some point, my friend excuses herself to visit the bathroom, and I check my phone. Suddenly, I feel someone looming over me, and then I hear a high-pitched, "Excuse me." I turn my head to see a slightly pissed woman staring daggers at me. She looks like a prototypical Karen. The haircut, the expensive clothes, that look cheap and the attitude. Me and my friends are waiting for someone to take our orders for 5 minutes. She pointed a couple of tables over where a couple of women in the same subcategory are sitting. So, I asked, confused. So get off your break and come take our order. I don't think so. You have to wait for one of the servers. I don't work for the hub. Karen leaning towards me and getting in my face. Listen up, you peon. We are paying customers and you're going to do as you're told. Break is over. And with that, she sweeps her arm on the table, spilling the coffees and glasses of water on me, but mostly on the laptop I had next to the table. At that point, I'm furious. I get up and there was a noticeable size difference. I'm 6'4", 225 pounds, and she is maybe 5'6" on 3-inch heels. Listen up, you little witch. I don't work here, and even if I did, I wouldn't serve people with your attitude. And if something happened to the laptop, you're paying for it. You dare to threaten me? Me? Do you know who I am? No, and I don't give a crap. You're just an entitled witch. At that point, a lot of people were looking at us and a server was coming over. The servers were dressed in black pants, white shirt, and a black apron. And Karen decided to try to slap me. I caught her hand as the server came next to us. The server says, "What is happening here?" "Your colleague is refusing to take our order and is threatening me." Server taking a look at me. "Madam, this man doesn't work here. He's a customer." Apparently, her little brain couldn't compute because she continued foaming until a manager and security appeared. When the manager asked what happened, I replied, "This woman insulted me, deliberately dropped coffee on me and my personal belongings, and tried to attack me. I would like to press charges." The implication of getting the police involved led to another rant by Karen, how it was discriminating against foreign tourists and she would sue me in the hotel and how we should respect our betters. You know, lovely stuff. The aftermath was that I pressed charges and Karen was kicked out of the hotel. I don't know what happened to the rest of her clique. The laptop was ruined, the bag zipper was slightly opened, and all the coffee poured directly on the laptop. The hotel offered me a full-paid weekend reservation at the time of my choosing, and about a year later, I received a hefty settlement for the incident, about 3,500 euros. It's pretty clear that this Karen was spoiled rotten growing up, or just was used to getting spoiled rotten to begin with. The way they were acting and the way they were treating other people, 3,500 euros probably was a small slap on the wrist for this person. It's a good result for OP, but in the grand scheme of things, it sadly probably doesn't change very much in the end for this Karen. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. No matter what you do, whether it's just viewing the video, liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, I appreciate the heck out of it. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, and I can't thank you enough for it. So until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll be right here next time on the Storytime channel.